Hello, my name is Alex and welcome to my channel. Last time we talked about why I love Ableton Live, and one of the points was regarding the user interface. So today I want to give you a brief overview of Ableton Live's interface because for new users it may be confusing at first. But small disclaimer here, although I have Ableton Live 12, I'll be using Ableton Live 11 for this demo, just in case. And there are some changes in Live 12, but they are not that significant in terms of interface to make a big difference. So if you're ready, let's go. So last time I told you that Ableton Live has two views. And actually, if you've seen Ableton Live logo, then you know it has two sets of bars. One of them is horizontal and another one is vertical. And if you have a question like why was like that, here's the answer. These sets of bars are nothing else but a representation of Ableton Live's views. One of them is called Session View and the other one is called Arrangement View. And Session View is the vertical view and it's the default one that opens when you launch Ableton Live, and this one is currently shown up on screen. To open Arrangement View, you need to hit Tab or just click on one of these two buttons that are located here on the top right side of the screen. So this one is a horizontal view that is more traditional and that you expect to find in other DAWs. And you can either switch between them or keep them both open on one or two screens. Remember I told you about the dual screen setup, right? So it is important to note that these views, they have different functionality and they serve different purposes. So now let's go back to the Session View. Session View is the reason why there are memes about comparing producing in Ableton Live with making music in Excel. And they really look very much alike, but actually the idea behind this view is quite close to FL Studio workflow. To make a song, you'd be using small audio clips and put them into these slots. And each horizontal line is called scene, and you can play as many clips from one scene as you like, or if you want to play them all, you can play just a scene instead. And however, only one clip can be played from one track at the same time. And as you can guess, this view is most suitable for loop-based production, so for beat makers it would be the best fit. And before Ableton Live 12, this view was also used as a mixing desk because it has track faders. And now you can do the mixing routine in Arrangement View as well. Now let's switch to Arrangement View. The only difference of Ableton's horizontal tracks views from other DAWs is that all the track controls are located on the right side of the tracks, while typically it is on the left side. This view is suitable for any kind of music production, from orchestral to EDM. And the area with tracks is called the main lane, and all of them are divided by bars with the numbers on top and the time on the bottom. And again, you can use audio clips here and you just drop them into these tracks. Above main lane, there's a small clip overview zoom hotspot area which would help you zoom the project in place or navigate through it. To do it, you just need to hold the left mouse button and move the mouse up or down for zooming and left-right for scrolling. When you switch between these two views, you may notice that only the central area of interface really changes, while the rest of the screen stays the same. So let's talk about the other parts of Ableton Live's user interface. The top area is divided into middle, left and right parts. The top middle part is for transport and loop. And the main buttons are play, stop and record. Play and stop are obvious, but if you want to record something, you need to arm a track first by clicking on the arm recording button. And then you can actually do a recording into the arm track. To the left, there is an arrangement position field where you can set the position from which the arrangement will play. Or you can just click anywhere within the main lane and put the playhead there. and the values in this field will change accordingly. There's also a follow button. If you activate it, the main lane view will follow the playhead as it moves. Then there is a loop section with the loop switch button in the middle of it. You can see the loop region hovering over the main lane, but right now it is not active. It means that the arrangement will play through the loop region as if it is not there. But when you activate it, then the region becomes looped and will play until stopped. So you can change the loop region area by either dragging its edges left or right, or by manually changing values in the loop start and the loop length field. Then there are punch in and punch out switches here by both sides of the loop switch. So what they do is they, when activated, they prevent anything being recorded outside of the loop region. So let me show you how it works. Now once the playhead is outside the loop, then the recording will stop automatically. That's it. Okay, to the right of the record button there's a MIDI arrangement overdub. And when you activate it, whatever you record via MIDI will be recorded over the previous existing record, not replacing it but blending with it. And next there's an automation arm button. And when activated, it allows the automation to be recorded along with the audio. So what is automation? It is a programmed changing of a parameter over time. So the simplest thing is the volume automation. To see it, I need to turn on the automation mode first. Right now the automation arm is active, but okay, let me deactivate it. Now even if I record anything and manually change the volume, for example, then it will change but won't be recorded. Now let's see. As you can see, nothing's been recorded yet. However, if I activate it, then it will, and it's gonna look something like this. And also notice that the recording of automation didn't start before the loop starts, because we still have the punch in button turned on. Alright, then there's a capture MIDI button, which will drop a MIDI clip into a MIDI track with the notes you just played if they were not recorded. So even if you didn't record something that you've been playing on your MIDI controller, but you would like to keep it, then after you finish playing, this button will activate and you will be able to bring all those notes to your MIDI track as if you were recording it initially. Okay, and then finally there is a session record button, which will record a clip from a currently armed track into session view clip of the corresponding track. And if you record anything this way, you'll have access to these recordings when you switch back to the session view. Now let me show you what I mean. The top left part is where all the song fundamental settings are stored. And this is where you turn the metronome on and off by clicking on this button, and this is where you change its settings. And this is where you set the numerator and the denominator of a song. And this is where you change the tempo either by typing the value in or by using a tap tempo button. And if I change this, notice how the metronome also changes. Alright, now then there's also the phase nudge up and down buttons, and they will gradually change the tempo as long as you keep the mouse button pressed. I'm not sure why you would need that, but anyway. So it's going like this. See that the tempo is increasing, and now it's going down. Okay, and finally this is where you change the quantization settings. The top right part is utility and monitoring area, and the first button is draw mode switch, and it is used for automation. So the idea is that you can apply automation in two ways apart from recording. You can either put breakpoints that look like dots on the automation lane and change their positions. Or you can actually freely draw anything, and the draw mode switch activates the latter one. Okay, next one is the computer MIDI keyboard button. And when activated, it turns your laptop or desktop keyboard into a MIDI keyboard that you can use to play a MIDI instrument. The next one is the key map mode switch, and it is used to make custom key mappings to different controls. So for example, you can map numbers from 1 to 4 to turn tracks on and off, or to make them solo, or to make them on for record, and then just use it. So the next one is the MIDI map mode switch, and it works the same way but for the external MIDI devices. And the next one is just the CPU load meter, and the one nearby is the overload indicator. So they will show you whether something's going wrong with your CPU or your disk. The biggest area in the middle is the main lane area if you are in arrangement view, or clips if you're in the session view. But apart from that, there are also areas in the left side of the screen that you need to be aware of. And the first one is the browser. And this is the second most important element in the workflow after the main lane. So this is the place where you get access to all the samples, tools, effects, plugins, clips, presets, current project files, and so on. And you can also add your own folders here so that you have an easy access to your own tools and libraries. And underneath it there's a groove pool window. And you can input MIDI clips here and save them as grooves. And grooves are different to just MIDI clips in a way that you can randomize the parameters to give them human feel. And finally, in case you don't need browser or groove pool windows, you can hide them by clicking on the groove pool or show hide browser buttons. Okay, the bottom area is also very important. It is called the detail view, which has an additional info view on the left side. The info view can be really handy, so I suggest you keep it open for a while until you feel familiar with Ableton Live. And this area is basically an area that can show you either the content on the clip, if you double click on the clip, or the audio effects if you double click on the track header. And you can also switch between them by clicking on the clip view selector or the device view selector. And finally, the last element here is the status bar, which shows some important information. And this area can also be hidden if you click on the Show Hide Detail View button. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that we can stay in touch. And as for the next video, I want to show you some important settings in Ableton Live that you need to be aware of and adjust if necessary when you open Ableton Live for the very first time. Until then, take care, bye bye, see you!